My name is Dorothy Washington, but everyone calls me Dottie. I'm 73 years old, and I'm about to tell you a story that'll make your blood boil and your heart sing all at the same time. Picture this. You spend nearly 50 years of your life building something from nothing. You sacrifice everything, your time, your energy, your dreams, to create something beautiful. And then one day, your own family erases you like you never existed. That's exactly what happened to me. But what my family didn't know, what they forgot in their rush to push me aside, was that I had been playing chess while they were playing checkers. And I was about to make a move that would change everything. This is my story. Let me take you back to where this all started. Tuesday morning, October 15th. I pulled into the parking lot of Washington's Soul Kitchen at 5:47 a.m., just like I had every morning for the past 47 years. But something felt different. There were cars already there. My son Marcus's black BMW, my grandson Jerome's pickup truck, and two other vehicles I didn't recognize. I had that feeling in my stomach. You know the one. When everything drops and you know something terrible is about to happen. I walked through the front door with my keys jangling, expecting to start my morning routine. Prep the vegetables. Check yesterday's receipts. Get the grits going for the breakfast rush. Instead, I walked into what felt like an ambush. Mama, we need to talk. Marcus stood up from the corner booth, using that tone adult children get when they're about to make a decision for you instead of with you. Sitting around that table were Marcus, my two grandsons Jerome and Kevin, and two people in expensive suits I'd never seen before in my life. Who are these people in my restaurant? I asked, setting my purse down real slow. This is Janet Mills from the Small Business Development Center, and David Chun, a restaurant consultant, Marcus said, not even looking me in the eye. We've been having some discussions about the future of the business. The future of the business. Not MY business. The business. This Janet Mills woman cleared her throat. Mrs. Washington, your family has brought us in to assess the viability of modernizing operations here. The restaurant industry has changed dramatically and... Excuse me, I interrupted, and my voice could have cut glass. Did my son hire you to come into MY Restaurant and tell me how to run the business I built with my own two hands? You could have heard a pin drop in that room. Marcus finally spoke up. Mama, look around. We're barely breaking even. Customer complaints are up. The health inspector has been here 3 times this month. The online reviews. He shook his head. People are saying the food is outdated, the service is slow, the whole place feels stuck in the past. Stuck in the past. My voice got real quiet. This past has been feeding this community for almost 50 years. That's just it, Grandma, Kevin said, pulling out his phone. Look at these Yelp reviews. Bland food. Rude service. Needs serious updating. We're losing customers to that new Applebee's down the street. I took that phone and read those reviews myself. Each one felt like somebody was sticking a knife in my chest. But here's what my family didn't understand. I had read every single one of those reviews. I knew exactly who wrote them and why. Mrs. Henderson complained about bland food because I refused to oversalt her meals on account of her high blood pressure. That rude service review came from a customer I asked to leave because he was drunk and bothering other people trying to eat their dinner in peace. These weren't problems. They were decisions. Conscious choices to put people's well-being over profit. This David Chun fellow opened his laptop. Mrs. Washington, with all due respect, the numbers don't lie. Your profit margins are 30% below industry standard. Your social media presence is non-existent. You're not on any delivery platforms. In today's market, that's business suicide. He clicked through a presentation that might as well have been a funeral slideshow for everything I'd built. However, Chun continued, with the right management structure and some strategic changes, this location has serious potential. The foot traffic numbers are excellent. The brand recognition is strong. We just need to modernize the approach. What exactly are you suggesting? I asked, though I had that sinking feeling I already knew. Marcus took a deep breath. Mama, we think it's time for you to step back. Take a well-deserved retirement. Let the younger generation take over day-to-day operations. Step back. I repeated those words like I was tasting something rotten. You'd still be involved, Jerome added real quick. Like as a consultant. And of course, you'd get a share of the profits. A share? I felt my eyebrows go up. A share of the profits from MY Restaurant. That Janet Mills woman jumped in with her corporate talk. Mrs. Washington, what your family is proposing is actually quite common in family businesses. A transition plan that honors your contributions while positioning the company for future growth. The company? I had to laugh, but there wasn't nothing funny about it. Y'all are talking about my life's work like it's some stock portfolio. Marcus leaned forward. Mama, please. Just listen to what they're saying. We're not trying to push you out. We're trying to save the business. Save it from what? From me. The silence that followed answered my question louder than any words could have. Chin pulled up another slide. Here's what we're proposing. A complete rebrand. Washington's Soul Kitchen becomes M&J's Kitchen. Marcus and Jerome's Kitchen. Modern logo, updated menu, social media marketing campaign, delivery platform integration. I stared at that mock-up on his screen. My name. The name I'd built from nothing. Completely erased. And what happens to me in this grand plan of yours? Marcus finally looked at me. You retire, Mama. You've earned it. Spend time with your great-grandkids. Travel. Relax. Let us handle the stress. I see. I nodded real slow. And if I say no? The look that passed between Marcus and those consultants told me everything I needed to know. Mama, Marcus said real careful-like, the majority of the business is already in my name. Has been since Daddy got sick. You remember, we moved everything over for tax purposes. I remembered. Lord, did I remember. I remembered signing those papers while my husband Robert lay dying in the hospital. Marcus had said it was just paperwork. Legal formalities. Nothing would change. I trusted my son. So this isn't really a discussion, I said. This is you telling me what's going to happen. It doesn't have to be adversarial, Janet Mills said in that practiced tone consultants use when they're about to destroy someone's life. Change is hard, but it's necessary for growth. I stood up real slow. All eyes in that room were on me. I need some air, I said quiet. As I walked toward the door, I heard Marcus call after me. Mama, we're doing this today. The contractors are coming this afternoon to start taking down the old signage. I stopped at that door but didn't turn around. 47 years, I whispered. 47 years of my life, and you're erasing it in one afternoon. I walked outside and sat in my Buick for a long time, watching through that window as my family divided up my life's work like it was a yard sale. I drove home in a complete daze. Not to the little apartment above the restaurant where I'd been living for the past 15 years, but to the house I grew up in. The house my parents left me. The house I'd almost sold a dozen times, but never could bring myself to part with. As I pulled into the driveway, I saw Mrs. Patterson from next door working in her garden. Dottie honey, how's the restaurant business? That question hit me like a punch to the stomach. By tomorrow, there wouldn't be a restaurant business. Not for me anyway. Oh, you know, same old, same old. Mrs. Patterson stood up, wiping her hands on her apron. You look upset, dear. Everything all right? And that's when it happened. 47 years of holding it together, of being the strong one, of keeping everything running while everyone else got to be family. It all came crashing down on me. I started crying right there in my driveway. Not pretty tears. Ugly, gut-wrenching sobs that came from somewhere so deep I didn't even know it existed in me. Mrs. Patterson rushed over and wrapped her arms around me like I was a little child. Oh honey, what is it? What's wrong? Between those sobs, I told her everything. The meeting. The consultants. The rebrand. How they were erasing my name and my legacy like I'd never existed at all. Inside my childhood home, surrounded by all those photographs and memories, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went up to that dusty attic and pulled down a cardboard box labeled Restaurant, Important Papers. Inside were documents I'd completely forgotten about. The original business license from 1977, written in my own handwriting. The first loan application I'd filled out, sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a prayer. Letters from customers over the years, telling me how much the restaurant meant to them. And at the bottom, in a manila envelope marked property documents, was something that made my heart stop beating. The original deed to the land. My hands were shaking as I read that document I hadn't looked at in over a decade. When Robert and I bought that corner lot in 1976, I'd made sure both our names were on that deed. I'd insisted on it, despite the bank's suggestions that it would be simpler to put it in just his name. When Robert died 15 years ago, that property had automatically transferred to me. Solely to me. Marcus owned the business. But I owned the land. The next morning, I was sitting in the waiting room of Thompson and Associates, the law firm that had handled Robert's estate. I'd called first thing, using that voice I save for real emergencies. "Mrs. Washington," Mr. Thompson said as he looked over my documents. "This is quite straightforward. You are the sole owner of the property at 1247 MLK Boulevard. The deed is clear and unambiguous. So they can't just take it. Take it. Mrs. Washington, they can't even use it without your permission. Any commercial activity on your property requires your explicit consent." I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. What are my options? Thompson leaned back in his chair. "Well, that depends on what you want to accomplish. You could evict the business immediately. You could renegotiate the terms of use. You could even sell the property to someone else entirely." As he talked, my mind was already working 3 steps ahead. I wasn't just thinking about revenge. Though I'll admit, the thought of Marcus's face when he realized his mistake did bring me a certain satisfaction. I was thinking about something bigger. "Mr. Thompson, what would happen if I revoked their access to the property?" "They'd have to cease all commercial operations immediately. You can't run a restaurant on land you don't have legal access to." "And how quickly could this happen?" "I could have the paperwork filed by this afternoon. They'd receive notice by tomorrow morning." But I wasn't ready to make my move yet. I'd learned something important over 5 decades of business. Information is power. I spent the next 2 days doing something I'd gotten very good at over the years, being invisible. At 73, people tend to look right through you. They forget you're listening. They forget you're even there. I sat in that booth at the back of Ruby's Diner across the street from my old restaurant and I watched. Marcus had wasted no time. My old sign was already down. Contractors were inside, ripping out booths I'd saved for months to buy, painting over walls that held decades of memories. I listened to customers come in, confused and disappointed. "Where's Miss Dottie?" asked Mrs. Johnson, who'd been bringing her family there for Sunday dinner for 20 years. "She's retired," Jerome explained, not meeting that woman's eyes. "We're under new management now." "Retired?" She didn't say anything about retiring last week when she catered my daughter's baby shower. I watched Mrs. Johnson look around at all those changes with obvious disapproval before walking out without ordering a thing. This scene happened over and over. Longtime customers came in expecting the familiarity they'd known for years, and left confused and disappointed. But what really broke my heart was watching my staff. Marie, who'd been working with me for 15 years. Carlos, who'd started as a dishwasher and worked his way up to head cook. These weren't just employees, they were family. Marcus had kept them on, but everything else had changed. The recipes we'd perfected over years were being replaced with generic corporate versions. The personal touch that made customers feel at home was being systematized away. By the end of that week, word had spread through the community like wildfire. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. "Miss Dottie, is it true you're not at the restaurant anymore? What happened? Why didn't you tell us? We went there for dinner last night, and it wasn't the same. The cornbread tasted like it came from a box." Each call was like a small validation. I hadn't imagined the relationships I'd built. The community I'd served for nearly 50 years was looking for me. Big Jim, a customer since 1979, came by my house personally. "Miss Dottie, I don't know what happened between you and your family, but I want you to know, that place ain't the same without you. Me and the boys from the plant. We've been going there every Friday for lunch for 23 years. Yesterday we went, and it felt like eating at a stranger's house." As Big Jim spoke, an idea began forming in my mind. An idea that was bigger than just getting my restaurant back. An idea that could give my community something they really needed. But first, I had to make Marcus understand exactly what he'd done. Monday morning, I called Mr. Thompson. "I want to do it," I said. "File those papers." "Are you certain, Mrs. Washington? Once we revoke their access, there's no going back without significant legal complications." "I'm certain." "And the timing?" I thought about it. Marcus had scheduled a grand reopening for Saturday. He'd sent invitations to every business in town, bought advertising in the local paper, even hired a local radio DJ to host the event. "Friday afternoon," I said. "Right before their grand reopening." While those legal papers were being prepared, I made a series of phone calls. Not to lawyers or consultants, but to people who'd been part of my restaurant family for decades. I called Marie first. "Miss Dottie, oh my goodness, we've all been wondering where you were. It's not the same here without you. Marie, honey, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me. How are things really going with the new management?" There was a long pause. "Miss Dottie, it's hard. Marcus, he means well, but he doesn't understand how we used to do things. He's got us using pre-made sauces instead of making them from scratch. He wants us to rush everything, get people in and out as fast as possible. Yesterday he yelled at Carlos for taking extra time with Mrs. Peterson's order, and you know she's 92 and needs her food cut up small." My heart ached listening to this. What if I told you there might be another way? "What do you mean?" "What if I told you that by Sunday, things might be very different?" Friday afternoon, 2:30 p.m. Marcus was in the middle of his final prep meeting for Saturday's grand reopening when a man in a suit walked into the restaurant. I wasn't there, but Marie told me exactly how it went down. "Are you Marcus Washington?" "Yeah, who's asking?" "I'm here to serve you with legal notice. As of 5 p.m. today, your access to this property is revoked. You have until end of business to remove all personnel and cease commercial operations." Marcus stared at those papers like they were written in Chinese. What is this? There's got to be some mistake." "No mistake, sir. The property owner has exercised their legal right to terminate your commercial access. You'll need to be off the premises by closing time." "Property owner? I am the property owner." The process server shook his head. "According to these documents, the property is owned by Dorothy Washington." "Are you Dorothy Washington?" Marie said, the color just drained right out of Marcus's face. That's my mother." "Then you'll need to take it up with her. Have a good day." As that man left, Marcus stood frozen in his half-remodeled restaurant, finally understanding the magnitude of his mistake. My phone rang about 30 seconds later. "Hello, Marcus." I kept my voice calm, almost peaceful. "Mama, what is this? What are you doing?" "I'm exercising my rights as a property owner." "Your rights? Mama, we're family." "Are we? Because when you erased my name from the business I built, when you brought in strangers to tell me I was too old and outdated, when you made decisions about my life's work without even asking my opinion, that didn't feel very much like family to me." I could hear the hurt in my own voice, layered underneath all that steel I'd built up. "Mama, please. We have the grand reopening tomorrow. The whole community is coming. I've spent thousands of dollars on advertising, on renovations. You should have thought about that before you decided I didn't matter." But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. Saturday morning, what should have been the grand reopening of M&J's Kitchen, I arrived at the restaurant parking lot at sunrise. But I wasn't alone. Big Jim was there with his pickup truck and a folding table. Mrs. Johnson had brought her famous mac and cheese. Carlos showed up with his own grilling equipment. "Miss Dottie," Carlos said, "if you can't cook inside, then we'll cook outside." One by one, people from my community began arriving. Not customers looking for a meal, but neighbors bringing food, bringing chairs, bringing their hearts with them. Mrs. Patterson brought her church's portable sound system. The Williams family brought their food truck and parked it right next to the restaurant. By noon, what had started as a small gathering had become a full-scale community potluck. I sat there in the middle of it all, watching Marcus through the window of his empty, newly renovated restaurant as hundreds of people filled the parking lot, celebrating me. the woman he'd tried to push aside. Around 2 p.m., Marcus finally swallowed his pride and walked outside. The sight that greeted him was unlike anything I'd ever seen in 47 years. 3 generations of community members, all gathered around me like I was holding court. Kids playing between the tables. Elderly folks sharing stories. The sound of laughter and conversation filling the air. This is what my restaurant used to sound like, I realized. Before the consultants and the efficiency experts and the profit margin analyses. "Mama," he said quietly, approaching my table. The conversation around us gradually got quiet as people sensed the tension. "Marcus." I looked up at him, keeping my expression unreadable. "Can we talk? Privately?" I looked around at the community gathered around me. My community, the people I'd been serving for decades, and I shook my head. "Anything you have to say to me, you can say in front of them. These people have been more family to me than my own family lately." Marcus felt the weight of dozens of eyes on him. People who'd watched him grow up. People who'd celebrated his successes and forgiven his mistakes over the years. "I was wrong," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Louder," I said. "Some of these folks are getting hard of hearing." Marcus took a deep breath. "I was wrong. I was wrong to push you out. I was wrong to change everything without asking you. I was wrong to think that just because you're older, your ideas didn't matter anymore." He looked around at all those people. I was so focused on what the business consultants and the online reviews were saying that I forgot what really mattered. I forgot that this place isn't just a restaurant. It's a community center. It's where people come when they're celebrating and when they're grieving. It's where families meet and friends catch up and strangers become neighbors. His voice cracked. "I forgot that you didn't just build a business, Mama. You built a legacy." I was quiet for a long moment, studying my son's face, really looking at him for the first time in months. "What do you want from me, Marcus?" "I want to make this right. I want to learn from you instead of trying to replace you. I want to honor what you built instead of tearing it down." "And what does that look like, exactly?" Marcus had clearly thought long and hard about this. "We put your name back on the building. Dottie Washington's Soul Kitchen, established 1977. We go back to the original recipes. We bring back the personal touch that made this place special." He paused, looking around at all the people gathered. "And we add something new. A community program. Free meals for seniors on Sundays. A place for kids to do homework after school. Cooking classes where you teach people your recipes." I raised an eyebrow. "That sounds expensive. What about those profit margins your consultants were so worried about?" "I think I've learned something about what really matters. A business that doesn't serve its community isn't worth having." 3 months later, I watched them put up the new sign. Dottie Washington's Soul Kitchen, where community comes first, St. 1977. But the real changes were on the inside. Every Sunday, we opened our doors for a free community dinner. I started teaching cooking classes on Tuesday evenings, passing down recipes that had been in my family for generations. The back corner booth became an unofficial homework help center where local high school students tutored younger kids. The online reviews started changing too. "This place has soul. Real soul. You can taste the love in every bite. More than a restaurant, it's like eating at your grandmother's house." The community dinner program is amazing. This is what restaurants should be, not just businesses, but pillars of the neighborhood. Marcus works alongside me now, not trying to replace my wisdom, but learning from it. He handles the modern aspects, social media, delivery apps, digital marketing, while I focus on what I've always done best, creating connections and feeding souls. Jerome and Kevin both came back too, sheepish and apologetic. They take turns working shifts and helping with the community programs. But the real victory wasn't in the family reconciliation or the improved reviews, or even the increased profits that came from having a truly engaged community. The real victory was in the lesson I taught not just my family, but everyone who saw what happened. Respect isn't something you outgrow. Wisdom doesn't expire. And sometimes the people you think are holding you back are actually the ones holding you together. On quiet mornings, when I arrive at the restaurant before dawn to start the prep work I've been doing for nearly 50 years, I sometimes pause and look around at the walls filled with community photos, the kitchen humming with purpose, the dining room ready to welcome another day of neighbors and families and friends. I built something that couldn't be erased by a new sign or improved by a consultant's presentation. I built a place where people matter more than profit margins, where tradition and innovation can coexist, where a 73-year-old woman can teach her family and her community that the most valuable things in life can't be modernized or optimized away. They can only be honored, preserved, and passed down. And that's exactly what I plan to keep doing, one meal at a time. My name is Dorothy Washington. I'm 73 years old. And this is how I reminded my family and my community that respect is earned, wisdom is precious, and sometimes the most powerful move you can make is the one nobody sees coming.